Do you ever catch yourself going back and forth from the refrigerator to the pantry when you're bored, even though you don't actually feel physically hungry? This boredom eating is a form of emotional eating, and it's a very common struggle to have. In this video, I want to talk about what boredom eating is and how to overcome this emotion without turning to food. So first of all, what even is boredom eating? Boredom eating is a form of emotional eating similar to stress eating or eating when you're sad. It's not inherently a bad thing to do. Food can really help us to feel better when we're feeling an uncomfortable feeling or if we're feeling understimulated. Emotional eating gets a bad rap, but it's totally normal to enjoy some ice cream after a pretty crummy day. This behavior just becomes problematic when we expect the ice cream to fix our problems, or if eating the ice cream becomes our only way to cope with uncomfortable emotions. Boredom eating may also become a problem if it just generally makes you feel worse or in any other way interferes with your ability to feed yourself well. An example of this could be if you experience boredom eating after work and this mindless eating just leads to you not being hungry enough to eat your dinner. Now, what exactly causes boredom eating? This might sound like a silly question, and you're probably thinking boredom causes boredom eating. But another reason why you might find yourself boredom eating throughout the day is that you're just not eating enough in general. Being underfed, compounded by feelings of boredom, could lead to you mindlessly rummaging through the cabinets throughout the day. And then, of course, another cause of boredom eating is just that need for stimulation. While we have all felt boredom before and it's totally normal, some individuals find it to be really uncomfortable and they crave that constant stimulation. Those who feel this way might tend to boredom eat more often. Alright, so we've discussed what boredom eating is, what can cause it. Let's go through my 6 tips to help you stop boredom eating. First and foremost, make sure you're eating enough throughout the day. Remember, being hungry will increase the likelihood of an emotional trigger leading to mindless eating. As a general guide, try to eat every 3 to 4 hours or so and incorporate protein, carbs, and fats at your meals and snacks. Tip number 2 is to honor your physical hunger. So with this one, try to differentiate between boredom hunger and true physical hunger. And if you are physically hungry, of course the best thing to do is going to be to eat. And make sure you eat foods that are actually satisfying for you, not just filler foods like raw vegetables or rice cakes. While those foods might physically fill you up, they're not going to mentally satisfy you, and that's likely just going to lead to you doing more rummaging and mindless boredom eating later. If you feel like you really struggle with learning what hunger and fullness feel like, be sure to check out my Master Your Hunger and Fullness mini course. In this course, I go through the different types of hunger, types of fullness, what they feel like, and I help you to distinguish what your body is trying to tell you. I'll leave a link below if you want to check it out. Tip number 3 to stop boredom eating is to identify patterns. Are there certain times when you tend to eat out of boredom? A few examples might be after work or after school, when your partner or roommate is out of town, maybe at night before bed, or perhaps while you are studying or doing any other task that is not particularly thrilling. Once you have identified when you tend to boredom eat, you can then make a game plan to tackle it. That leads us into tip number 4, which is to create a self-care toolbox. I always talk about creating a self-care toolbox for every range of emotion that could lead to emotional eating. And like we've discussed, boredom eating is a type of emotional eating. So what might help is to create a list of things you could do when you're feeling bored. And eating can absolutely be on that list. But the goal here is to have multiple coping skills in your toolbox to choose from. You wouldn't expect to have just a hammer in your actual toolbox to fix everything in the house, right? Similarly, there likely is not just one way that you're going to want to cope with boredom. Here's a few ideas of what you might put on this list. You could call a friend, you could go for a walk or do some stretching. You could watch your favorite TV show. I've got a handful of comfort shows that I love to turn to, like The Office and New Girl.
Gave me cookie, got you cookie. You gave me cookie, I got you cookie, man.
You could also bake, you could take a bath, organize your closet, read a book. You could journal about your feelings if that's helpful for you. It doesn't really matter what you actually add to your list as long as you actually find that it's a helpful coping skill for you. Once you have this list, refer to it anytime you might start to feel bored, especially if you kind of feel yourself gravitating towards some boredom eating. Alright, tip 5 is to practice mindful eating. Boredom eating can really lead to us eating past fullness and feeling pretty uncomfortably full sometimes, especially if we were not being mindful while we were eating. Try to practice mindful eating at all meals and snacks. That way it feels more natural to do when you find yourself boredom eating. It can be tough to be aware that we're not eating mindfully when it's actually happening, but as you start to get more natural at mindful eating, you will be able to notice when it's happening and put a stop to it if you want to. And my last tip to help you stop boredom eating is to cope with kindness. Once again, we have likely all found ourselves boredom eating at some time or another. Feelings of guilt are unwarranted for this normal behavior. It's important to treat yourself with kindness and self-compassion if you find yourself boredom eating when you didn't want to be. Try to approach it with curiosity rather than judgment. Bottom line, the goal is to not stop boredom eating forever. Sometimes food truly can be a healthy way to cope with emotions. The goal, rather, is to stop using food as your only coping mechanism. If you feel like boredom eating is a problematic area for you, be sure to feed yourself consistently, eat foods that you actually find satisfying, and have that self-care toolbox locked and loaded, ready to use. If you'd like more help with overcoming emotional eating and becoming more of an intuitive eater, be sure to join my Nutrition Reboot membership. This is a community of ex-dieters working to make peace with food and finally find food freedom. Inside the membership, I host live trainings, I have exclusive podcast episode for members, I post dietitian created recipes every week, we have an intuitive eating book club, and I think the most supportive part for members is the private Facebook group. We all love cheering each other on and asking questions and sharing our struggles. It's a really great way to feel like you aren't alone on this really tough journey of ditching the diets. Now, super exciting, the month of April is our anniversary of the membership. So to celebrate, I'm offering 4 months for free on the annual subscription. So when you go to sign up, use code 4monthsfree at checkout to save $120 on a full year of membership with me as your intuitive eating dietitian. Again, that's code 4monthsfree to save $120. I'll leave a link below. I cannot wait to see you inside. All right, friends, that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions about intuitive eating, boredom eating, emotional eating, please leave them down below. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe so you always know when I'm posting new intuitive eating videos. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time. Looking for more support on your intuitive eating journey? Be sure to join the Nutrition Reboot membership for more structure, guidance, and support for a fail-proof journey of making peace with food. I can't wait to see you inside and be your intuitive eating dietitian.